Have you ever noticed that the loudest person in the room is often the weakest? Always talking. Always trying to prove something. Always chasing validation. But the one who moves in silence, the one who speaks less and listens more, that's the person you should never underestimate. Because real power doesn't announce itself. It's felt, it's seen in presence, not performance. In a world that glorifies noise, silence has become a rare currency, and yet those who understand its value, those who live by it, move differently. They're not in a hurry to be seen. They're not begging for attention. They know that the loudest voice often masks the deepest insecurity. Silence isn't just about not speaking. It's about cultivating awareness. It's about observing what others miss because they're too busy talking. It's in silence that you begin to understand people, not just what they say, but what they avoid saying, not just what they do, but what drives their actions. Life has a way of working in your favor, but only when you stop forcing it. When you stop explaining yourself to people who never care to understand you. When you stop chasing validation from people who wouldn't notice if you disappeared. That's when things start aligning. That's when the right people stay and the wrong ones leave on their own. The discipline of silence teaches you something most people never learn. How to wait. How to observe. How to understand before reacting. Because anyone can react. But it takes strength to pause, to stay calm when provoked, to stay still when tempted. That's the mastery silence offers. The people who command the most respect aren't always the ones speaking the most. They're the ones who choose their words carefully, who listen more than they speak, who don't explain every move, but instead let their results do the talking. The more silent you become, the more you hear. You begin to recognize when someone's lying, not because of what they say, but how they say it. You start noticing hesitation in their voice, contradictions in their story, tension in their energy. Silence sharpens your intuition. It makes you more alert, more in tune with your environment. Most people talk because they fear being forgotten. They fill every silence with noise because they're uncomfortable with their own thoughts. But the strong, they embrace silence. They understand that true confidence isn't about proving anything. It's about knowing you don't need to. It's easy to talk, anyone can talk, but it's rare to listen. It's rare to observe without needing to be seen. And that's why the quietest people are often the most powerful. They see more, feel more, understand more, because they're not distracted by their own noise. And here's what silence really gives you: control. The moment you stop reacting to every little thing, you take your power back. When people can't provoke you, they lose their influence over you. When you don't rush to defend yourself, you become untouchable. Because control over your reactions is the highest form of power. True strength isn't loud, it's deliberate. It's found in those who don't need to prove themselves, who don't announce every plan, who don't reveal their next move until it's too late to stop them. That's the discipline of stillness. Imagine a lion in the wild. It doesn't roar to prove it's a lion. It moves in silence, saving energy, studying its prey, choosing the perfect moment to strike. That's how you must approach life. You don't need to fight every battle. You don't need to respond to every insult. Sometimes, silence is your greatest strategy. Stillness gives you time to think, to feel, to understand the entire situation before acting. And when you finally move, you move with purpose, with clarity, without hesitation. People often mistake silence for weakness, but that's their mistake. Let them assume, let them underestimate you, because when they see what silence was building behind the scenes, it will already be too late. Your work will speak, your results will roar. Success doesn't need a broadcast. The most powerful people in history moved in silence. They didn't seek attention, they sought purpose. They didn't need applause, they needed focus. And that's what made them unstoppable. There's power in not revealing everything, in keeping your dreams close, in protecting your plans until they've matured. Not everyone deserves access to your process. Some people want to know just to sabotage. Others pretend to support but secretly hope you fail. That's why silence protects your vision. Speak less, build more. Keep moving, even when no one's watching, because when it's time, the results will speak louder than any words ever could. Navigos, let's go, don't quit, and become dom. Emotional intelligence isn't about never feeling anger, frustration, or sadness. It's about knowing how to handle them. And silence is one of your greatest tools for that. When someone disrespects you, the natural urge is to retaliate. When someone doubts you, the instinct is to prove them wrong. But silence teaches you patience. It gives you time to process, not just your emotions, but your response. It creates space between impulse and action. And that's where power is found. Not everything deserves a reaction. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every challenge deserves your energy. When you learn to choose where to engage, you preserve your strength. You become emotionally bulletproof. In relationships, silence can be maturity. You don't respond out of spite. You don't argue to win. You listen, you pause, you reflect, and sometimes you say nothing at all. Not to punish, but to protect your peace. The most successful people know that silence is essential to leadership. It allows you to see what others miss. It helps you read the room, understand dynamics, and sense tension before it becomes conflict. It gives you leverage in negotiations, clarity in decision-making, and control in high-pressure moments. Silence also allows for self-reflection. You hear your own patterns, you notice your own triggers, you begin to understand why you act the way you do, and that awareness leads to transformation. People who talk constantly are often escaping themselves. They're running from their own truth. But when you embrace silence, you confront that truth, and only by confronting it can you grow. So let silence be your emotional armor. Let it protect your peace, guard your growth, and sharpen your awareness. Because the one who controls their emotions controls their life. There is a point in your life when you realize that talking about your dreams isn't the same as living them. That announcing your intentions isn't the same as achieving them. And that telling the world your plans doesn't mean the world wants to see you succeed. That's when you stop talking and start building. That's when silence becomes your strategy and action becomes your voice. Anyone can speak, but not everyone can follow through. Anyone can dream, but not everyone has the discipline to turn that dream into reality. And the difference between the ones who succeed and the ones who don't? The ones who let their actions speak. When you work in silence, you protect your momentum. You don't waste energy explaining yourself. You don't look for validation. You simply stay consistent, focused, disciplined, and eventually the world notices, not because you told them who you are, but because you showed them. The quiet grind is the most dangerous kind, because it's invisible. You're making moves no one sees, building strength no one suspects. By the time they realize what you've been doing, it's already too late. You've become undeniable. That's how legacies are built. Not with noise, not with attention, but with relentless action. With waking up every day and doing the work even when no one's clapping. With staying committed to the vision even when it feels like no one's watching. There's power in being underestimated. When people think you're not a threat, you have the freedom to move without resistance. Let them believe you're quiet, because you have nothing to say. Let them think your silence is weakness, and then let your results prove otherwise. Silence removes distractions. When you're not trying to impress anyone, you focus better. When you're not performing for approval, you execute faster. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stop second-guessing your path. You stay in your lane and you build. Every great achievement started in the dark. Before the spotlight there was silence. Before the applause there was discipline. Before the results there were sacrifices no one saw. And that's what makes the success worth it. It wasn't handed to you, it was earned in silence. You don't need to broadcast your grind. You don't need to explain your hunger. Real power is felt, not announced. Real success speaks for itself. The ones who constantly talk about what they're going to do rarely do it. The ones who do the work, they don't have to say a word. Your actions will always speak louder than your promises. Your results will always matter more than your potential. So stop announcing, stop explaining, start showing, start becoming. Let your legacy be the loudest thing about you. Because one day they look back and realize you weren't just quiet, you were focused, you were working, you were building something they never saw coming. Patience is one of the rarest strengths in today's world. We live in a time that demands speed, fast results, instant gratification. Everyone wants to go viral, get rich quick and climb to the top overnight. But anything built in a hurry often collapses just as fast. Stillness is misunderstood. People think if you're not moving, you're falling behind. But stillness isn't about inaction. It's about intentionality. It's about knowing when not to move, when to wait, when to hold back until the time is right. There's a reason the strongest structures in the world take years to build. You can't rush a foundation and expect it to support a legacy. The same is true in life. You can't rush healing. You can't shortcut growth. And you can't speed up timing that hasn't matured yet. Impatience is a silent destroyer. It makes you settle for relationships that aren't right. It convinces you to quit on dreams that are just beginning to bloom. It leads you to compare your timeline with someone else's and make decisions based on pressure instead of purpose. But patience is wisdom. It's the quiet confidence to wait without anxiety. It's showing up every day even when there's no applause. It's doing the work even when you see no immediate reward. It's trusting the process when everyone else is chasing shortcuts. Think about the people who endure, the ones who thrive in the long run. They weren't always the most talented or the most celebrated early on, but they had endurance, they had patience, and because of that, they built something real, something lasting. Most of your growth happens when no one sees it. It happens when you're tired but keep going, when you're doubtful but still show up, when you plant seeds but see no signs of a harvest and still water them anyway. That's the strength of stillness. Patience teaches you to stop chasing, to stop grasping, to stop forcing things that aren't meant for you. It trains you to release control and focus on what you can influence. Your effort, your discipline, your mindset. Stillness lets things come to you. Like a calm lake that reflects the sky perfectly, your stillness draws clarity. You see what you missed when you were rushing. You feel what you ignored when you were forcing. And suddenly, everything makes sense. Life doesn't reward the frantic, it rewards the focused, the calm, the prepared. When you learn to sit in the silence, you become dangerous. Because you stop reacting. You start choosing. You become strategic instead of emotional, patient instead of panicked. The things that are meant for you will arrive, but not always on your schedule. Some doors don't open until you've learned what you needed to learn. Some blessings don't show up until you're strong enough to carry them. Some opportunities wait until your character is ready to match your vision. So keep working, keep believing, keep building, but do it with the calm assurance that everything meant for you is aligning. Slowly, silently, and perfectly in the background. Let others rush. Let others shout. Let others chase. You stay still, stay grounded, stay ready. Well, as far as I knew. Oh boys, do this, stay in. Because the one who masters patience masters time, and the one who masters time masters everything. Doubt is loud. It echoes through conversations, seeps into the silence of your thoughts, and tries to shake the foundation you've built. It doesn't just come from the outside, from critics, skeptics, or people who don't understand your vision. Sometimes the loudest doubt comes from within. But here's the truth. Not every voice deserves a response. Not every opinion is worth your energy. When doubt arises, whether from others or from your own insecurities, the most powerful thing you can do is remain silent. Silence protects your peace, it guards your focus, it allows your vision to stay clear and unclouded. When someone questions your path, your purpose, your progress, you don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to explain the steps you're taking to those who've never walked your road. Let your work speak. Let your results answer. Let your silence hold your ground. Because the moment you react out of insecurity, the moment you try to prove yourself to someone who's already decided not to believe in you, you lose control. You hand them power. But when you stay quiet, you keep your peace, your energy, and your power intact. Silence in the face of doubt isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It says, I don't owe you access to my process. It says, I'm too focused on building to argue. It says, watch me or don't, but either way, I'm not stopping. Sometimes the greatest form of self-respect is refusing to lower yourself into debates about your worth. Sometimes protecting your vision means keeping it sacred, hidden, and untouchable by outside noise. And that's exactly what silence gives you. A shield from the chaos. When doubt surrounds you, get quieter. When criticism grows, go deeper within. And when people question your direction, keep walking. Because in the end, your legacy won't be built by your arguments, it'll be built by your outcomes. You don't have to announce your glow up. You don't have to explain your healing. You don't have to tell the world how much you've grown. Just become it, quietly, unshakably. The most powerful transformations happen in silence. They begin within, in the invisible moments when no one is watching, when you choose discipline over distraction, when you decide not to quit, when you keep going even though no one is clapping. This is the quiet rise, the slow, powerful climb that no one expects. The kind that doesn't seek attention, it demands respect through presence, through action, through results. When you shift your focus inward, everything changes. You stop trying to impress people, you stop chasing status, you stop worrying about being misunderstood. Because you finally understand that true greatness doesn't come from validation, it comes from alignment. You become unstoppable when you stop waiting for permission, when you no longer need the world to applaud your progress, when your fire burns regardless of who's watching. This level of power is built in silence, in showing up every day with intention, in choosing growth over comfort, in saying no to distractions, in protecting your peace like it's sacred, because it is. You rise when you stop explaining and start embodying. When you stop announcing and start delivering, when you stop performing and start becoming. This is the rise they won't see coming. This is the rise that doesn't need to be loud. Because when it's real, when it's rooted in purpose, it shakes the world, even in silence. Let them doubt, let them assume, let them talk. Meanwhile, you move in silence, you build in silence, you evolve in silence. And when it's time, when the moment is right, you arrive with such clarity, such power, such presence, that no one can ignore you. That's not just a comeback, that's a strategy. That's the power of silence. Too many people give away their power through noise. They overshare, they overexpose. They invite in energies that dilute their focus and weaken their resolve. But the strongest people, the ones who shock the world, are the ones who reveal only when the mission is complete. You don't owe anyone a play-by-play of your progress. You don't have to justify your decisions, your timing, or your pace. Real growth doesn't need a witness, it needs work. Real change doesn't come from announcing, it comes from committing. Let silence be your filter, your boundary, your shield. Use it to weed out those who are curious but not supportive. Let it protect your peace while you do the real work. Because by the time they see the results, it will be undeniable. You don't have to be loud to be legendary, you just have to be real. You just have to be focused, and you just have to keep showing up even when no one's watching. Because the life you're building, the one no one sees yet, is the life they'll never forget. What remains when the noise fades? What echoes after your words are forgotten? Discipline, results, legacy. You see, silence isn't the end. It's the beginning. It's the space where habits form, where character is shaped, where the future is decided. Anyone can make noise. Few can leave a legacy. And those who do, they're the ones who mastered silence and married it with discipline. Every day you choose to show up without recognition, you are casting echoes into the future. Every time you keep going when no one's watching, you are building something unshakable. Every sacrifice, every small win, every quiet decision, it stacks, it matters. Don't just chase success, build endurance. Don't just seek recognition, build character. Because the world may applaud you once, but your discipline, that's what keeps the applause going. You don't need to shout when your life speaks for itself. Let your legacy do the talking. Let your results be the proof. Let your consistency echo across every room you enter, even if you enter it in silence. And when it's all said and done, the world will remember not what you said, but what you did. Not the noise you made, but the impact you left. That's the power of silence. That's the gift of discipline. That's the legacy of the quiet ones. In a world addicted to speed, noise, and urgency, stillness is a rare superpower. Most people are rushing, reacting, scrambling to keep up. But not you. You move differently. You move with calm, with clarity, with control. Stillness doesn't mean inaction, it means intentional action. It means being grounded when everything around you is shaking. It means responding, not reacting. It means leading from a place of inner strength rather than outer chaos. The calmest person in the room is usually the most powerful, not because they talk the most, but because they see the most. They observe, they assess, they act only when necessary, and when they do, it's impactful. You don't need to prove yourself in every moment. You don't need to chase every opportunity. Some things are won by patience, by restraint, by knowing when to wait and when to strike. In stillness you gain clarity. You start hearing your inner voice above the noise. You start sensing what feels aligned versus what simply feels urgent. You develop the courage to walk away from chaos, even if it means walking alone. The world respects those who remain calm under pressure. The ones who don't flinch in the storm. The ones who don't let their emotions make their decisions. That's the energy that builds empires. That's the energy that inspires others. Stillness allows you to lead without force, to move without rushing, to grow without shouting. You become the eye of the storm, unbothered, unmoved, and unmistakably in control. Let others run in circles. Let them burn themselves out chasing attention, validation, or speed. Your strength is in your stillness. Your power is in your peace. Because in the end, the loudest one rarely wins. It's the one who stayed steady, the one who waited, the one who watched, and then acted with precision. That's who you are becoming. And that's why nothing can stop you.